What up, naughty steppers? It's your boy Connor Whitmore here once again, and it is time for the first full EP review of March 2018. It's honestly crazy to think how quickly time has gone this year already. Next thing you know, it'll be the end of the year and I'll be sitting in this very chair talking about the death of Riddim. Lol, that will never happen. But today is a day that I've been waiting for a long time, because this is an artist that I've been wanting to talk extensively about for a while, but haven't had the platform to do so. But now, on the Nawtystep channel, I'm elated to finally be reviewing a multi-track project from the one and only Sudden Death, with his new EP Junkworld, released on Never Say Die Records. Now I say finally, not because it has been a long time since his last EP release in June 2017, but because from then until now there has been so much hype surrounding his music that it's been harder and harder to keep from analysing what it is that has got people raving about it. And in saying this, I'm not even talking about fans necessarily, but producer after producer labelling him as the future of dubstep, bringing some of the freshest sounds to the genre in years. Not to mention the insistence on him having some of the best mixdowns of anyone in that particular scene, especially with him being a relative newcomer. And so I read loads of comments on this, all the while trying to figure out more and more where they were coming from, because I didn't warm to his style that much at first. It seemed to tap into the same sorts of patterns as a lot of other dubstep, without providing anything particularly different from the norm, as people were implying. But then I slowly started to correlate the producer's admiration of his music with my own experience of it, thinking that if it is fellow producers who are saying this, and also those who are at the top of their game, then they must know when something is really worth listening to. Enough at least that they'll take to social media to express their thoughts and opinions on it. And I can say in certainty now, in listening to this EP, that something has clicked. His style is beginning to leave a mark not only on my understanding of his music, but also on my understanding of where the dubstep genre is currently at as a whole. It's only with this release that I'm becoming aware of the type of dubstep that he is pushing forward, with his sound maintaining a real consistency across these 4 tracks, with a remix at the end from Oddprophet to boot. An acidic, shiny, swampy kind of dubstep that for me started to be popularised around 2015 by Dubloads, with EPs such as Lost in the Source and Cut Life, and has since been built upon by the likes of Graphite, E-Craze, Parne Muir and, you guessed it, Sudden Death. And while some may be quick to jump the gun and label this stuff as Riddim, do so at your peril, because this is the last thing that he wants his music to be regarded as. And whilst I feel like there's an extent to which I can see both sides here, I must say that I'm siding much more with Sudden Death on this one. Because even though there is a repetitive aspect to his music, the overarching impression I get is that it displays a maturity, purpose and drive far beyond anything you're likely to hear from the Riddim genre. So much so that it separates itself from that style of music entirely, and instead taps into that brighter, more sinewy technique that I was discussing earlier. Because throughout Junkworld, the listener is constantly kept engaged and alert to the different directions it will take, the avenues it will go down. This is evident from the first track, which in itself comes as a surprise. A mellower, more pensive slant on his style that could have come at the end, but instead poses as a fantastic way to introduce the listener to this project. It's like, oh, you thought I only did the remorseless heavy stuff? Well, prepare to have your mind flipped, bro. It's a pretty cinematic, interstellar kind of experience that displays that maturity in production beyond his usual heaviness. Especially in carrying on the midsection in the lead up to the second drop, painting even more of a picture, setting even more of a scene. And from this point onwards, the listener is treated more to what you would expect. A slew of mind-melting, skittish bangers that all the while possess such a flawless control to them throughout. With an added emphasis on that jumpy element, that which keeps the listener most tuned in and curious as to how his sound will be twisted next. This is first evident in the second track, Last Life, which turns this way and that, skipping over the surface and resembling a sort of movement like feet on hot coals. And this is something that carries on into the fidgety Caught in a Mosh and beyond into the more insistent, pounding Surrender. It's another factor of his music that separates it from your normal, underground, grungy dubstep beyond the gravitas of his overall sound. Lest this be seen solely as a tactic to keep the listener wanting more. More, it's a sure sign of an artist's ambition when they are not sticking with one particular pattern, but venturing off into as many wildly different territories as they can. And this jumpiness runs the risk of muddling the overall sound and detracting from its clarity, but that is something that is far from evident in this EP. Everything is remarkably definite and available for appreciation, considering the largeness of these sounds and the fact that they're all brought together. And I think in saying that this sound was so fresh, many producers were implying that it takes a great artist who can bring so many different sounds together and make it cohere into one solid, unified whole. Something that is also remarkable in the remix from Oddprophet, who retains the riveting pull of Sudden Death's sound design whilst putting his own terrifying, unshackled spin on the blockbuster original that is Rock Like This with Yakz. And this clarity is evident even in the punchier parts of these tracks, most notably with the build-ups, which are so good throughout. Such as the video game style approach of the title track, or the threatening, stabbing nature of the second, or the nightmarish fourth, which probably possesses the best mixdown of the whole EP, integrating the vocal sample into its drop to perfection. These builds set their respective scenes very well, and there's a very discernible drive and purpose to these parts of the tracks, chugging away like a steam engine gearing into action. Another interesting point of discussion with this EP is the melodies and hooks in the lead up to these builds, which dip in and out of different moods and levels of hype, creating moments for the audience to zone in and out of. From the sombre and thought-provoking in the title track, to the more playful and enticing in Last Life, and then the more dimly lit approach in Caught in a Mosh. And before I progress, I must take some time to talk about the multitude of various snippets of sound that are smattered within Junkworld. In the first track we have the raspy wow sounds and the elephant noises, which I couldn't ignore. Then in the second track we have the beauty-bitty-ba, and the third track with the constant bite, do bite, 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 do bite, 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 the interjecting scattergun notes and winding bleep noises in the fourth, and the short screams of ravenous sound that are unleashed with Oddprophet's remix at the end. And taking all of this into account, whilst I certainly prefer the core of Junkworld to its start and finish, I must say that I am really feeling this EP overall. The ideas are constant, hard-hitting and incessant without anything completely showy about them. But it's the thickness of the sound, the sheer weight of it, that makes these songs completely irresistible. He is taking underground dubstep to a new level. The constancy of the sound is there, but there is nothing stale about it at all. It's so vivacious and alive. There's a much more epic feel to it, just never relents, never stops providing, just brimming with intensity and flavour and personality. With an incredible presence to this sound that makes it exist not only on the outside and open for auditory consumption, but also in your body, etching itself into the very fabric of your being, finding every nook and cranny to eschew its way into your existence. And honestly, it's dubstep like this that makes me love the genre. So much energy, so much bite, so much naughtiness. And this isn't me saying that I didn't like the title track and the Oddprophet remix, because they are both also very good tracks. But the standard set by those middle three is so high that it's hard to ignore them as a focal selling point for this EP. And considering he's a completely different artist, Oddprophet actually does really well to recreate the general vibe set by Sudden Death. A more skeletal approach for the most part, but it has those blinding thrills as the drop progresses and plugs away in other areas in an all too similar fashion. And I also love how that golden vocal chop hook was reintroduced for this EP, almost as if Sudden Death knows just how good it is and wanted to give it one last run out. Now if I had to pick a favourite from Junkworld, then I would have to go with Caught in a Mosh. Beyond the analyses of these tracks, this is the one that probably gets me going the most. Like one of those proper bouncy dubstep tracks that is just getting me going with the arms, giving it one of these. And in terms of recommendations, then I would search up those artists that I talked of previously, those who are also tapping into this acidic style of dubstep production. So Dubloads, Parne Muir, Graphite, E-Craze, and anyone of that ilk. And on that note, I'd like to briefly discuss the artwork for this EP, which very much addresses that idea of the all-encompassing nature of death, with the skulls placed around the earth in the middle, and the dark, black colour very much emphasising the bleakness of this. Although the more I thought about this, the more I realised the irony in having an artist called Sudden Death release on a label called Never Say Die. And so that is that for Nawtystep's review on the new Sudden Death EP, Junkworld, released on Never Say Die Records. Very happy to finally get my thoughts out on this game-changing artist. Like this video, share it about, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment with your thoughts on Junkworld. What did you guys make of it? And don't forget to like and follow Nawtystep across all social media if you are yet to. With absolutely everything linked, including those recommendations for artists similar to Sudden Death, in the description box down below. And if it's naughty, then you know, peeps. So be sure, as always, forever and ever, to keep it naughty and stay safe. And I hope, as always, to see you in the next one. Peace out!